Okay, everyone, thank you so much for waiting. We are ready for our next run. So that'll be Echo Point Nova 80% by Ozmourn. Ozmourn, do you want to take it away?
I would love to take it away. Thank you so much for that introduction, Starwin. Hello, everyone. I am back once again. My name is Ozmourn. You might have seen me at previous Power Up with Pride events running never the same game twice, except for the one time that I did. But today we're playing something new, and that is Echo Point Nova. And before we get into the real meat of what that is, I do have a commentator here with me if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bystander Tim. I actually introduced this game to Ozmourn, but
Yes.
I'm really excited to be there, or I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be commentating this run. This game is awesome, and I feel like it still went underrated, even though it has a pretty decent fan base over on Steam. But yeah, Osmourn's going to kill this run, and I'm going to provide color commentary and hopefully make a joke or two.
Yeah, this is a really nice game. Echo Point Nova is a first-person movement shooter, and this run is mostly going to be movement, and it's going to be a little bit of shooter. And you'll see what I mean once we get into it. We're gonna start right here. We're just gonna delete this file. Come on, play delete. There we go. Perfect. And now we're gonna do a new file. We're gonna play on Frost Point, which is the easiest difficulty. It allows us to have 10 health points, as opposed to Echo Point, which only has 5, and Melting Point, which only has 3. And the health points are going to need a lot in this run, because of the different strats we're going to be using. So we're going to be doing directly on Frost Point, and then we're just going to create. And timing doesn't begin when I start the file, it begins when I do my first input, once we load into the game. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoy Echo Point Nova, and pay attention because this is going to go by really, really quickly, um, faster than you might think. But that being said, just going to wait for the load in here. All right, so time will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. So as I said, Echo Point Nova is a movement shooter. We're going to first try a... Ooh, nice. I got that nice little trick here. The physics in this game can be a little wonky sometimes. One easy glitch that you can do right then and there. Oh my god.
I was going to say,
One
you
easy
don't do
skip.
that lineup from
I
the
don't. I
crack
do from
there.
here. I find it so much easier to do it from here, but I am now failing. But with that being said, Echo Point Nova is a movement shooter where our primary weapon right here is the standard pistol. But what else is this game all about, Tim?
Yeah, so we are currently probably at our slowest right now, but as we talked about, this is a movement shooter right now. You're gonna see some of what really is going on with like dashing straight down, ground pounding here, but we're about we're about 30 seconds away from things going to the moon here, and that's because there is a hoverboard. Now, normal games, normal first-person shooters have a sprint button. Here we have a hoverboard, which allows you to gain a bunch of momentum and a bunch of speed really quickly. We also have our good friend the pickaxe here. That's going to become really important, especially as we do this strat right here. You don't make a I'm noticing very quickly how different Oz
Yeah.
and I play. But now we're gonna do a ground pound here, and we're gonna gain a whole bunch of momentum, and we're gonna go right to the moon here. So the goal right here is to carry all this momentum. That way you can get a bounce right off of here, and we're gonna be right at the grapple hook. Now, grapple hooks in most FPS games normally like need a solid surface, but this game decided, hey, what if we let you grapple onto clouds? So now we're gonna be doing a whole bunch of grapple chaining right here.
Again, the one caveat to some of the mechanics that we have here is obviously the grapple can only take you so far, but also the hoverboard has a really hard speed limit at 112 miles per hour, and that includes if you are going faster than 112 miles per hour. If you pull out the hoverboard, you will slow down until you get to 112 miles per hour. So if you are going faster than that, as you can see in my speedometer in the bottom left corner, you do not want to be pulling out the hoverboard in that case, because otherwise you're just going to be slowing down. But with that being said, if this game does have a speed cap without the hoverboard, I certainly have not discovered it yet. But to my knowledge, the game has a really, really high skill ceiling because of the fact that you can just preserve and increase your speed to absolutely ridiculous heights. And so in this first section, in this first half, I should say, we are going straight to what would normally be considered like the halfway point of the game. There's two bosses that we're going to be fighting, both known as Colossi, and there is a huge volcano in the distance that you can probably see on the right side, way behind there. And that is where the first Colossi is going to be. But what else can you really say about the different strats and mechanics that we're seeing right here, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, first thing to note is that because it's kind of
Whoa,
hard to
whoa,
really.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa! Yeah, I hate it when that
Yeah.
happens.
No, believe me,
Uh,
that sucks. Yeah, the one reason why that happened here is that, at least from my personal experience with this game, is that if you fall beneath where like the game allows you to grapple onto a cloud, it's gonna do like a ghost input where it's gonna try and grapple and attach to nothing. But we're currently right now at like what the quote unquote end game area is. As you can see, there's a lot of maps that are going like very hard difficulty. And that's because this game's open world is made up of a bunch of different platforming and combat challenges. And we're actually weaving a little web here that we're going to start working backwards to as soon as we do this boss fight that we're talking about here. Because the way this game works is that you're actually grabbing a number of keys and you're clearing a number of these platforming challenges. And we're essentially setting ourselves up to, once we get the power up that you get from beating the boss of this area, we're going to go ahead and then start working our way back, because this power up is so strong, mainly due to the fact that it's an on-demand speed boost. Like right now, all of our speed is really dependent on keeping a solid line and then grappling from point to point here. But once we beat this boss, we're going to be able to just make a bunch of speed on demand, and then we're going to use that to create different lines that are more unique as well. So
yeah, exactly. One thing that I do want to note about the movement that I just did, aside from failing a little bit to grab onto one cloud, is that there are two spawn locations that I actually really wanted to grab, and that are a little bit. One of them is necessary. The other one is just a bit of a time saver. You might have seen me go past a cloud and then grapple on to the same cloud that I just passed, and that's because I unlocked the Black Forge. Spawn point that I'm going to be coming back to later. That specific spawn point actually has what is known as an artifact in it. This game requires you to collect 8 artifacts. I know I should know the answer to that question, but for some reason I am drawing a blank on the exact number, even though I just did a practice one before this. But with that being said, the game requires you to collect a certain amount of artifacts in order to complete the game, and Black Forge is where one of the artifacts are. The other one that I was looking for was Pillars, which is less of a necessity. It's just a really huge time saver because it's like right next to where we want one of the artifacts. And you also are abusing the map right here because I just got to this volcano, and you can just immediately grab the spawn location from that volcano. I'm going to start this boss from the back here. Usually this boss is like on a global cycle that starts the moment that you enter the game, and so you want to be able to grab him on a pretty good cycle. And so as long as he's like closer to you, that's ideally where you want him. But we're actually kind of one cycle behind what the ideal cycle would be. So
by the way, slight motion. I was gonna say, by the way,
say,
slight motion sickness warning for the people at home. If Oz's camera gets out of sync when he grapples, it could flip pretty easily. So just if you have any motion sickness, that would be, it might be a good idea to look away. But the main idea of what we're doing here with the boss fights is that, actually quite similar to Shadow of the Colossus, is that we're going around and we're hitting a number of weak points here. And as you can see at that top right, the objective is to get rid of all the weak points here. And that just involves not only keeping on track with all the different geometry here, because this is much harder than it looks, and it already looks pretty hard. Of just going around and making sure that you're hitting every weak point here. So
yes. And we do have a question in chat. Is this the default field of view, or is this something that you've done specifically for the speedrun?
I haven't changed the field of view for this run at all, which is weird because usually I do change it, but for some reason when I changed the field of view, it actually made me like really motion sick, even though I never get motion sick in games like these. But like this specific field of view was something I just felt the most comfortable with. I never felt the need to change it, but I do get I do get the idea that, because usually when it comes to shooters or any first-person game, I would change the field of view pretty easily. We're going to go to pillars right here that we unlocked earlier. And we actually unlocked the wind power mechanic. And so, what exactly is the wind power mechanic here, Tim?
Well, this is a fun thing for me. Normally, you get the firepower here. So,
Yeah, I don't know why it's called the wind power mechanic.
um, yeah. So, but the firepower here, as I was talking about before, it's one of two things. A, it's a immediate speed boost on demand here, so you're going to see Oz take a lot more different lines here. The other fun thing is that it destroys any geometry that you use the power on. And there's a number of puzzles here that normally involve, like, for example, this platforming challenge. You're normally supposed to go around and hit a bunch of different buttons, like flip a bunch of different switches. But if you fall right to the bottom and then use the firepower, it could just break through the ground, even through stuff that is unbreakable here. So now, as I was talking about before, we made a little bit of a backwards line that we're now going to start following. And then we don't really need to fight any other boss in the game except for the final boss. So now we're quite literally going to go back through all the major areas of the game and get a bunch of major artifacts and then go right to the end. And this is where, like, if you thought the game was fast before, we are going to zoom now because we have the ability to chain a bunch of grapples as well as keep our momentum and speed with this firepower.
And should be right around here. I always mess up where exactly this one is.
This line sucks. This line sucks so bad.
There we go. Here it is.
Yeah.
You can see a peek through some of the geometry here. Sometimes. Oh, come on. I hate G and F being right next to each other. I love it.
I hate letters coming after each other in the alphabet, you know?
Exactly. So right here, as you can see, we're going pretty fast. So fast that some of the levels have not loaded in yet by the time we get there. Right here, we're going to... Ooh, okay. That still works. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough, right?
Yeah. One thing how Oz is getting that much momentum is that when you ground pound while you're on the hoverboard with the speed panels, is that they give you an incredible amount of speed. We saw some chaining of that right at the beginning of the run, and that's really the other place where it's going to primarily be chained. But yeah, so as we talked about at the top of the show, you're already seeing right now, if you love movement speedruns, this game is awesome. If you love first-person shooter speedruns, this is a lot of movement, not a whole lot of... This is a lot of first-personing, not a whole lot of shooting, so...
Yeah, exactly. It's schmovement if nothing else, which I do appreciate a really good schmovement game.
Yeah.
We're going to be using... Yeah, I do appreciate how the firepower mechanic does allow you to gain a lot of momentum here, especially because it means that I don't have to worry about holding out the shift button for the hoverboard right here. Ooh, okay. Oh, no, we're saving this. We're saving this.
Okay.
We got a little bit too low. It's fine. Okay, there we go. There is another artifact right here. Perfect. And...
Very clean. That one's also a little harder than it looks because the firepower is quite destructive. So having to create a line that is just below the line of fire where you don't take damage is very, very difficult. But yeah, now we're going to a big blob of sand.
Yeah, this particular one, if you time your firepower correctly, you can get like upwards of like 350 miles per hour, which is really nice. Oh, what happened there?
What?
Yeah, as Tim said, your camera can actually really easily get desynced in this game. Oh, it used the firepower when I didn't have the firepower out. Look at that.
Oh, hey, cool. Hey, we love that. We're going to be doing some digging. We are trying to dig into, there's a, like, it quite literally just said it. There's a tomb here that has, like, another one of these platforming puzzles that we're just going to immediately break through the wall and like ignore.
There we go, perfect. And this next one is just right down here.
Yeah.
Please, begging, pleading. There we go.
Please. And now we're like we're nearly there. We have 2 more major artifacts here that we're gonna grab, and then
there we go, perfect.
And then
why did it put me in the wrong direction? I hate it when that happens.
This game is fun with spawns, but
exactly
we're very nearly at the end of the game, and like the way that the final boss fight actually works is that like the Colossi,
Why
it's
didn't it
not.
load in? We did
That's a
not.
great question.
This area didn't load in.
Hey, look! Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
Like the Colossi fight, there's going to be a gigantic combat slash platforming challenge. That's going to be the end game, but that's going to be prefaced by we are quite literally going to zoom off into the moon. So
This is true.
get
Which,
excited
in
for
my
that.
opinion, is like one of the harder tricks to do in this run. Not because it's necessarily like you can easily die or anything. It's just like if you want like really optimized like world record level times, the amount of speed you have to get in order to launch yourself out into space is ridiculous. And it's not you can't always get it optimally. So this
And
is the
also
last.
losing that speed, will just lose a whole bunch of time because there's really no true way to recover it.
Exactly. So we're gonna put all the artifacts here. And then we're gonna activate this. And now we're gonna see a lot of the Earth come out and unlock more of the level to us for us, leading us straight into that guy. That is the final Colossi over there. It's a lot higher up than it looks from here.
Talked about the
but
moon, it's quite literally in space. So we
yeah,
need to get to space.
we really do. We're just gonna wait for this platform to come up, and then we're going to hook shot or grapple onto that cloud, curve onto this platform. Come on, there we go. Use that launch pad over here. We're gonna use this one again. Let go of the hoverboard, and then use 2 fire powers to gain a little bit more height here. I'm going to use the hoverboard to slow down a little bit. And okay, there we go. We use this. This is the part that matters right here. We're gonna launch up here. I'm going to jump a lot, and then use our firepower to get up here. And the fact that we are already past that icicle means that like that's good. That's good. We're getting a good amount of speed. It doesn't really show in the speedometer because we're going up, and the speedometer only calculates like horizontal distance and speed. But the speed that we're going at right now is actually really good. Before we get into the final boss here, I will let Starwin say a few announcements if they would like.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to remind folks that Power Up with Pride 2025 is raising funds for True Colors United. True Colors United implements innovative solutions to youth homelessness that focus on unique experience of LGBTQ plus young people.
All right.
All right, so now we are quite literally in space, right at the final boss here. So, compared to the Colossus that we did fight in the volcano, a lot of these platforms are bigger, but they are surrounded by a bunch of different enemies and a bunch of lasers flying all over the place. We're entering near bullet hell territory in some cases, but we're going to be using our firepower to break into all these weak points right here as well. We are in space, so we are dealing with zero gravity, so adjusting your momentum and keeping your speed is going to be important here, especially when you're breaking into the area, and making sure that all of your bullets line up as well. Well, I'm pointing out bullet lineup mainly because this game is not hit scan when it comes to weapons. So you are seeing bullets fly, and sometimes if you do not hit enough damage and you have to turn around and shoot something, it is like a noticeable waste of time sometimes. But we are nearly right at time here. We are
Time's gonna come up pretty quickly. And you might have noticed that one thing is that when that didn't happen in the last Colossus, is that whenever we get rid of one of its weak points, the areas around it will just disappear, which is something that I really appreciate about this boss. It makes it significantly easier than it would have otherwise. But you can also kind of take advantage of that because some of the collision for the platforms and for the walls are still there, even if you can see it like disappearing. And so you can use that to your advantage by grappling onto them and preserving a little bit more of your speed. We're gonna attack 3 more weak points here. I need health. I would like some health, please. Please.
Yeah, this is the main point in any percent where combat actually becomes quite difficult. If you even screw up a little, sometimes a lot of enemies can ambush you and just take you out, and losing a run here hurts.
It does. Oh my god. And I usually like using the handgun because it takes 3 shots to take out one of these weak points. Time is going to come up when I hit this last weak point right here. And so that is time.
All right,
GG.
great run.
Wonderful.
All
That
right.
felt
Do you
really
have any
nice.
shout outs?
Um, that felt really nice. I enjoyed, especially like once we got the firepower. Um, that was really nice, and I feel like everything past that point were really well. I think honestly, the thing that I had the most trouble with was getting the double jump boots at the beginning. Like the first few seconds of the run, where I'm just like, okay. Um, and like that was like the most things that I had trouble with. But aside from that, I think that went really well. So I hope y'all enjoyed Echo Point Nova. It's a fun game. Um, it's a little bit on the pricier side when it comes to indie Steam games, but I think that it's worth the price, and especially because of how large and expansive this game is. And so if you're interested in learning this run and buying this game, please do. But with that being said, before I do my shots, I want Tim to do his and whatever he wants.
Yeah. No, first off, I want to thank Oz for inviting me on here. I know that there's a lot more community involved in this game, but I feel like the community aspect of speedrunning is sharing these kind of games and having like your own little competition as well, which is always really fun. Oh, by the way, the credits are us falling back to the open world, if you didn't see. The other fun thing about this game is just it's always awesome to shout out really interesting indie games, and it's even more interesting that this is more than likely the last run of this version of the game that you're going to see because they're doing a big free expansion that is going to change up a lot of the open world pretty soon as well. But again, thank you so much for inviting me, Oz. It's been a pleasure as always, and keep supporting the marathon and keep donating and keep enjoying this wonderful slate of runs.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here, Tim. You're an amazing commentator, so I'm very glad to have you on. And with that being said, I've been Ozmourn. If you're heading out for the night, first of all, you shouldn't because I have another run coming up with a T-Tree who is running Buck Up and Drive next, and then we're going to run Windblown. But with that being said, if you are heading out, you can follow me on Twitch. I'm just Ozmourn on Twitch. Believe it or not, I actually don't don't stream the majority of my speedruns, but you do see me streaming archipelago content with my friends. And this Saturday, I'm going to be streaming Windblown with a T-Tree for a raid train for our dear friend Limey, who is doing a cross-country move. So you want to check out this Saturday at 9 p.m. Aside from that, you can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm pretty active on there as well. I'm on Ozmourn on all platforms. If I am more than likely on pretty much any social media. But yeah, again, thank you so much to Power Pie for accepting this game, and I love you all. And please stick around for Windblown. I'll be right back in literally 30 minutes.
Thank you so much, chat. Everyone, give a round of applause and go follow Osborne. This was fantastic, and stand by. We'll be back with Buck Up and Drive before you know it. Thanks again, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. You are watching Power Up with Pride 2025 here on Twitch. We are running from June 13th through 15th for about 16 hours each day, and we are benefiting True Colors United. To find out more about them, you can find the link to their site in the panels below the stream or use !charity in the chat. If you're interested in donating, you can always type !donate in chat and find the schedule using !schedule. There are multiple incentives that are open, so hit !incentives and stay tuned. We'll be back soon with Buck Up and Drive.